Welcome, everybody, to our Monday night empowerment session where we will be learning about sleep and things that can help aid your sleep and help you wake up rested again. As always, this is about empowering people through education so that you can feel more able to make better decisions for your health. If you would like to get up to the minute text messages for the Monday night sessions, if you want to text the word learn to 1-866-256-1970, then you will get a text message with the link about 15 minutes before our Monday nights. So let's jump in. So we're going to start off with a testimony here that is just outstanding. It's talking about an update that she was giving to her husband's sleeping issues. During the day, she gave her husband 2 adaptable and 2 Verdezymes. And at night, she rubbed Calm on his forehead and temples as well as his feet. And she had shared a copy of his sleep pattern, but it did show that he slept pretty good, and says that he's in shock this morning and still is insistent that she had drugged him with something in his food at dinner because he slept so good. And that right there was a great testimony because it shows the power of simply adding in a few formulas and the results that we can have as opposed to, what we're going to learn about. We'll get into that. So let's talk first about sleep deprivation and why we should be concerned about this, why this is important. So number one, when you go sleep deprived for too long, you end up with memory issues. It's proven that you just don't think as well. Think about when you're tired. You can't sleep that well. But when we go long terms without sleeping, then it becomes even more of an issue. It does impact your ability to think and concentrate. When we were young, we used to think that we could, in college, we could do outstanding, pull an all-nighter, study for our finals, write our term paper. But in all honesty, that over many periods of time, over and over again, really has the opposite. We do not perform optimally when we are sleep deprived. It also makes us more vulnerable and weakened with our immune system. In fact, think about it. When you're just tired in general, whether it's exhaustion from overexerting yourself or not sleeping well, or having company extended for a while, it's the same way that it makes you vulnerable. And all of a sudden you're like, why did I get sick? I never get sick. That little bit of exhaustion can open up the door. It has been proven that sleep deprivation also causes an increased risk for type 2 diabetes. It really messes with your blood sugar and ability for your insulin to work properly. Also shows an increased risk for heart disease. And many of you know that heart issues can be a precursor for diabetes as well. And then we also have what I'm referencing is lost time for body repair and healing. At night, we're supposed to be getting restored. The body's detoxing, or it's being able to focus on breaking down toxins and pathogens and things that are in the way that might be causing infection or impairing our body's ability to heal. And when we don't sleep, instead of getting that opportunity to repair, it actually adds additional stress, which makes the situation worse. It also has been shown to elevate cortisol enough to where we end up with weight gain. And think about it, you're tired, you're reaching for that quick little bit of food or boost of energy or caffeine or sugar or something to feel like you can focus, and it just ends up adding weight instead. And it's been shown that 80 to 90% of people with depression and anxiety, they've got underlying sleep problems. So to me, this goes hand in hand with addressing those type of issues for people. If we can get to the root of the issues and help people to sleep better, then it has a huge impact about how good you feel about dealing with the day and how easy you think you can not be overwhelmed with whatever's thrown at you. In fact, sleep deprivation is seen as serious of an issue as someone that has addictions to either alcohol or drugs. That really stood out to me and let us know just how important it is that we address and get a solution for this. And then what do people tend to do? They tend to reach for sleeping medications because why? Because you get desperate and you know you need to sleep and you just can't keep on going. But those come with their own problems. For instance, a lot of people, once they take a sleeping medication, they just can't wake up out of it. They're so drowsy that it's like they never woke up at all. It's like they're still sleeping. Also, people have hallucinations and nightmares. And I remember my grandmother, she was in her 90s, and they'd had her stay overnight in the hospital for something. And they gave her a sleep medication. Keep in mind, this woman was on no medications, even up until when she died in 101. And so they had called me because I had her power of attorney, because they had found her at the foot of the bed. She thought she was at a football game from when my dad was in high school. So not a good experience, and even more terrifying to someone that age. Also, long-term use of, or just using sleep medications, it can make your sleep apnea worse. It can create a drug dependence and addiction. In fact, notice how many people get to where they feel like they have to have that medication every night to sleep. And there's something called a rebound effect that ends up happening. So much so that the drugs can actually end up causing the very issue that you're taking it to challenge. It's been proven over and over. For instance, headache medications. People can take those, and after a while, the medication actually starts causing the headache. Medication side effects can also be more aches and pains, drug interactions. A lot of people have no clue how to look that up, and they don't know whether or not it might interact with the prescription med that they're on. It also impacts the brain because it's hitting negatively the gut. And those of you who have been taking my classes over the last few years know that a lot of your brain health is determined by the health of your gut. So therefore, dementia, if it's already in the family or we were already going down those types of paths, it definitely increases that risk of that problem. So just another reason to be looking for a solution that's not going to have these type of side effects. So this is a really important one that I always bring up in my consults whenever I have people that are having issues with sleeping at night. And that has to do with blue light. Blue light, as you can see right here, is like what is on the phone. Now, why is this important? What does blue light do? Well, number one, because it impacts the pineal gland. It suppresses the body's release of melatonin. Melatonin is going to help you to be able to shift to go to sleep. And the reason is the blue light is so bright because even the sun gives off some blue light. But when we've got this concentrated here like this, then the pineal gland is seeing that, oh, it's daytime. And it doesn't start the process of naturally shifting the brain to sleep like it would when we have the normal sun coming up, sun coming down. As the sun gradually goes down, it gets less light. And so the melatonin production begins, which helps the person be able to go to sleep. Blue light also is going to impact your alertness. It impacts hormone production, which means it's going to impact anything to do with hormones, whether it's sleep. Hormones can impact libido. They can impact bone health, you name it. And then, of course, the sleep cycles. It can alter your internal clock by as much as 6 time zones, guys. That's really impressive. And then even Harvard researchers are saying that it can actually alter your sleep schedule by up to 3 hours. So that if you are, on your phone right before bed, that it can keep you from being able to fall asleep. Or how many people reach for it while they're laying in bed, saying they'll play some games or answer messages, or heaven forbid they answer a message in the middle of the night and then that lights come on. So I always talk to people about accessing in their phone in particular. There's controls that can adjust your blue light so that it ties into getting more dim, tied with when the sun goes down. I personally stay off my phone at least an hour, if not 2 hours before bed. Same with computer, because of how it impacts my sleep otherwise. So there's a lot of electronic sources of blue light, fluorescent lights, LEDs. We talked about phones, your e-readers, your video game consoles, tablets, televisions. A lot of these smart TVs and everything have got blue lights now. People have a TV in their bedroom. They can't go to sleep that well. I have people that tell me that they can only go to sleep if they're sitting in their recliner. They can't go to sleep if they're in their bed. Well, they have a lot of other things often going on in there, whether, like I said, whether it's the phones or the television, or they've also conditioned themselves to, they sit in the recliner, they let them sit in there until they get sleepy, wake themselves up after they fall asleep to go to bed, as opposed to making bed just a place to go to sleep. Now, why else is this important? How long would you think, how much exposure would you think was necessary in order to impact and cause these issues? Well, believe it or not, it only takes 12 minutes. So it makes a lot of sense that if you have challenges with being able to lay down and go to sleep, that you look at your routines and verify if you have a regular blue light activity or exposure during that time period when you should be shutting down mentally for going to bed, and adjusting those practices. So here's another testimony from a past customer of mine. He had had Parkinson's and he hadn't been resting well. His wife often had to sleep in the other room because her sleep was interrupted so much because of his issues between snoring, getting up and down, turning around. And so I talked about the calm. And then she took that and she rubbed a few drops on the bottom of each foot. And she came in the very next day and was talking about how excellent that it worked. She was blown away. And of course, it also helped her as well, because she's going to smell as well. Now, remember too, you can diffuse this in the room as well. Sometimes, every once in a while, you get that rare person who has the opposite reaction to something that's supposed to be calming, which is showing us of an area that needs support. Now, if we're overtired, you might also consider using balance by itself or adding balance to it, just because it helps to take that edge off. And we see that work very effectively for people. How many of you run into the issue where you cannot turn off your brain when you lay down? And I was a champion at this. My brain would go and go and go and go. And I didn't assimilate fats very well. And many of you know my story about how it took a lot, as in a huge amount, it was 16 capsules of an omega-3 from a different company that I was using, and an enzyme, a lipase enzyme for each one of those. So that was 32 capsules throughout the day in order so that my brain could keep up with everything that I was doing and then still be able to go to sleep at night. But once we got the Solle-Mates, that issue became a non-issue. In fact, Troy used to know my husband. He'd be laying there, and if I was awake, he'd like, all right, how many you need? And he'd go off to the kitchen to get me my omega-3. But once I got the Solle-Mates, I very quickly was able to totally get rid of those other 32 capsules. I went down to a few capsules twice a day. It might have been like 2 twice a day. And on really big days when I was teaching a couple week, day-long seminars, or I had a whole lot of consults, I might throw in a couple Solle-Mates and that would address that. Once we got the Infatuate, many of you know that I drink the Infatuate in my hot Solle-Mate every morning. I have gone now down to just 1 scoop of Infatuate and then 2 Solle-Mates in the evening. That's it. And that makes all the difference from me being able to sleep. Because the brain is actually actively looking for good fat to feed itself. That's what's going on. It's not that it really wants to stay awake and thinking about all these things. It's not calling you to go to the refrigerator and be hunting food. However, some people will find that what they're drawn to, if they do get up in the middle of the night to eat because they can't sleep, is actually a fatty food. Again, because the brain is looking for that good fat. Another thing I pay attention to is, when is this person waking up at night? If they lay down and go to sleep and they wake up on a regular basis and are awake for an hour or two, I have people keep a record of how long that is, because that gives me information as to what area of the body needs to be supported. It's extremely common for people to wake up between the hours of 1 and 3 o'clock in the morning, which happens to be when the liver is supposed to be detoxing. So if a person is waking up that way on a regular basis, then yes, that Soul Vitals can come in really handy because of all the support that it gives the liver. And sometimes when we start people on the Soul Vital, they might wake up for 1 to maximum 3 nights for a little bit in between that time period between 1 and 3, because it's allowing the body to do its job. Remember, I talked about how when you're sleeping, your body's supposed to restore itself and do some deep cleaning or detoxing or restoring and healing again. So this type of clocks can give you information as to what's going on. Lisa Tucker shares a great testimony on the Renew, and Renew is a product that I really like. She says she likes it warm as a tea before bedtime, and it has even challenged her restless leg syndrome. It's completely gone now. And I've had multiple people tell me that the Renew helped them with restless legs, whereas that was one of the things that was keeping them awake before. And then I even have some people that, and I will do this, like on Monday evenings, if I'm kind of tired, but I know I've still got to focus to make this presentation, I will do a hot Renew with Solle-Mates, and it doesn't keep me awake that way. It allows me to be focused, but my brain to be calm down, and allows me to go to sleep. I also like to take Renew and mix it with Tulsi tea, which is like holy basil, and that just is wonderful. So let's look at the products that are in the sleep package from Soul Naturals. Infatuate, where I was talking about already, about it works with good fats to feed that brain. Just think of the brain needs oil. It needs good oil, good, clean, healthy oil to feed it so that it will settle down and calm down. Contentment is one of the other items that's in the sleep package. It has the calm oil in it that we referred, along with a couple others. But whether you have calm or the contentment just happens to be the one that comes in the package, using that on the bottoms of the feet or on the wrist or the nape of the neck. The whole formula is designed to help encourage, right here, like they've got peace and rejuvenation, which again, that's what we want. We want calmness so we can sleep, and we want the opportunity for the body to rebuild. Renew. A couple of the aspects that I really want to focus on right now with Renew is the fact that we've got the passion flower, which really, really feeds that nervous system. In fact, it is phenomenal for feeding the nervous system. And when your nervous system is overwired or overwhelmed, been run too hard, think of it as being frazzled. And so it calms that down, which helps the whole system to kind of come off on this high peak over alert state that it's in. And then lemon balm is really renowned for, and also known as Melissa officinalis, for calming the brain. It helps with promoting sleep on its own. And then it also helps with digestion, which we're going to learn a little bit more about how digestion impacts as well. But in general, I love Renew because it does work with overwhelm when it comes to either mental or physically. And then Vital with the 6 adaptogens in it. Adaptogens bring the body into balance. I've had so many people start to sleep better or notice change in their sleep by either adding the Vital or the adaptable into their daily regimen. It's a benefit they weren't expecting. But it is a combination or a formula that it balances to the core, but it's also very soothing. And I say soothing because all the chlorophyll in it is alkalizing, which means it's going to help get rid of the irritation, inflammation, the acids in the body. And whenever you can reduce that, the body's always going to be in a calmer state. And then the final item that is in the sleep package is the Verdezymes. And it is a calming blend that helps support the gut and the mind. And we'll learn more about that. Greg will go into more detail for that here a little bit. But I do want to also talk about combining Renew with Vital. And Renew and Vital are both in this package. Anyone that has had past adrenal burnout, adrenal fatigue, experiencing it now, sometimes taking the Renew at night instead of calming actually wires you, because you're getting in and healing those adrenals, which we need to do in order to start to challenge the sleep issues. So if that describes you, as in you're a person that's had this past burnouts or adrenal issues or really reactive distress, then I would consider combining Vital and Renew during the day and drinking it, so that as it starts to give nutrition to those adrenals, which is why it fires them up, it's during the time of the day when you need to be awake anyway. And that's the way I did it for a couple of years, because at night I couldn't use it. Now, not an issue, works outstanding. It is still my preferred way to use it, though. It's just what my body likes. And I'm a big believer in listening to my body, because it's not going to direct me wrong on this. So now I would like to turn this over to Greg Halliday, and he's going to share a little bit on Verdezymes. There we go.
Thank you, Valerie. Great stuff. I couldn't take pictures fast enough of the screen. That's okay. I know you post it. So today, Verdezymes is unique because it's a very complete enzyme. And actually, most people don't know this. The protein enzyme portion of it is a double dose, fully doubled, a complete dose, and 4 different protein digestive enzymes that cover all the different level ranges of pH that our digestive system might be in. Because sometimes people will use enzymes, not get a result, and they're using a certain enzyme when they get them separately. And it's because the pH isn't right. Certain enzymes thrive or activate in better pH. We actually covered all that we know that are from plant sources to give the largest range of pH for your enzymes. So we know, and I'm not going to talk today about enzymes much. They're complete enzymes. They're all from plants. They have components for every type of macronutrient, fats and sugars and carbohydrates and proteins, right? The three biggies. They're covered, and then some. And so what I wanted to talk about was the plants. There are 4 of them. Since the topic is sleep, I just love this review. These are from Dr. Allison. 4 plants. First one is wood betony. Why is that in an enzyme? Very famous. We've shared these statements, one from the Romans and one from the Spanish. Sell your coat and buy wood betony. And the other, she has more virtues than wood betony. These were many centuries ago, very famous sayings that had to do with wood betony. It was really the gold standard for any issue with the head, including sleep, for many, many years in Europe. And you can see that it's related, as Valerie said. There is such a connection between digestion, digestive issues, and the brain and anxiety and the ability to sleep. So in 2011, Martin Hughes said, 1 out of 7 people have heart palpitations, undiagnosed. Okay, that's an interesting statistic from someone who worked a lot with people. Phyllis Balk, in Prescription for Nutritional Healing, she recommends wood betony for any number of heart disorders. So let's call them heart imbalances. They have a huge impact on sleep. This surprises some people. In 2011, Joe LeBlanc, it is an excellent antimicrobial. In fact, in a study that was done with a number of plants, the one that was the strongest antibacterial was wood betony. A lot of people do not know about it, but that does validate what has been written from 6th century, 10th century in terms of ear infections and different bacterial infections in the head, how wood betony could be so useful there. Here's a little bit of the explanation. We now know that there are a number of tannins in wood betony. And so look at that ringing in the ears tonight. And look at the second point here. Gillian Painter, Materia Medica for the Southern Hemisphere. In Gillian's opinion, it is one of the few plants with a restorative effect on nerves and the nervous system. It is used for all matters of the nervous system and brain. Valerie's been talking about several of them tonight, direct imbalances that can happen. So I think I mentioned this, it was once sovereign. There's the sovereign remedy for maladies of the head. In 1666, Medicina Britannica wrote, I can't remember who the author is. I have known the most obstinate headaches cured by daily breakfasting for a month to 6 weeks with a decoction of betony with new milk constrained. Interesting one. I love these historical records. And here's a current study in 2012. This was when we launched Verdezymes. Comparing it to Voltaren, exhibited similar or greater potency in anti-inflammatory with betony. Whenever you can deal with inflammation, lots of issues tend to improve, don't they? Among them, sleep. So that's wood betony. I'm going to jump over these because I don't have time tonight, but peppermint was put in there to stimulate digestion. In other words, helps it improve digestion, specifically fat digestion. Valerie talked about the importance of that in sleep. But it's also this calmer, and we know that, right? When nervous system calms, actually the body works on digestion and absorption and assimilation more. That's the stimulating sign for that. Here's a 2012 study about gastric spasms being improved with peppermint. And then marshmallow, that's the third one. So there are four: wood betony, peppermint, marshmallow, soothing, coating, healing for the digestive tract. We could say the same about the lungs. And I love Valerie's, I want to take a picture of that wheel, your sleep wheel, and the different times of night. You know, when you wake up, there's that time of night. I can tell you, when I have woken up at night, awakened, at night, it's often either in the liver or the lungs over the years. And you know, I dealt with, some of you might know, I dealt with a lot of allergies, took a lot of medications and inhalers for years. A lot of that detoxing, a lot of that weakness is much, much stronger now. Great benefits for gastric ulcers in studies. And here's the last one I wanted to end with for sleep. Passion flower, an amazing plant, right? I love the studies. Excuse me. I love the studies. Here, this is from the Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. Insomnia, anxiety, epilepsy, neuralgia, withdrawal symptoms from opiates or benzodiazepines. I don't know how to pronounce that. Valerie probably does. I just look in general, detoxing and withdrawing from chemicals. What an amazing flower. Been studied a lot. This is just a summary from Dr. Allison. She talks a little bit more about that, but it does have anti-anxiety and some sedative properties. It's no wonder that you can take Verdezymes and you take them at evening, and if you take them on an empty stomach, they do more healing and they do lots of calming and lots of direct aid in terms of rest and sleep. What was interesting about the second bullet point on this slide, this study, is that anxiety was reduced, but locomotor function, or psychomotor function wasn't compromised. So I love to see that, because it doesn't matter when you take it in the day. If it's time to rest and your body's tired, okay. But you can take Verdezymes for a number of reasons, with a meal at midday or other times, right? And you're not going to be in a compromised situation in terms of your ability to navigate where physically through your activities. Let me see if I have one more slide on this. 2011, the British Herbal Compendium describes sedative and anti-anxiety, antispasmodic. Numerous studies support central nervous system sedative and anxiety reducing. And the German Commission E has approved it officially for nervous restlessness. So what a huge bank account of benefit from Verdezymes when we add that to the diet. It's an easy one to add to the diet. Back to you, Valerie.
All right, thank you, Greg. And I really like that passion flower too, for how it impacts the GABA receptors. It really does help to calm and shut down the brain for a lot of people. Another really, really great, it's a little bit detailed here, but this testimony is outstanding. This is a young woman, mother of 2 boys, chronic insomnia, tried multiple remedies between natural remedies and over-the-counter ones, finally went to modern medicine. All the doctors and specialists that she saw did nothing but give her multiple medications that either didn't work or rarely worked, or if they worked, they quit working fairly quickly. And then she had really brutal withdrawal from them to the point where she would, like I was talking about that rebound effect, she would actually go the opposite and end up with no sleep at all. In fact, this was pretty amazing. Got so severe that for a full year, she got by on about 8 hours of sleep in an entire week. Think about how destructive that is to the system when we think back about the sleep deprivation and what I was sharing with you. In short, though, she ended up trying some Soul Renew that her chiropractor gave her. And I love her statement here. It quite literally may have just saved my life, and not just changed it, but saved it. She sees the project as a miracle. She says she is off of all meds for 2 months now and sleep decently almost every single night. And if she wakes up, she can even fall back asleep. And remember what I was sharing about Renew and how it ties back and works really, really good for exhaustion when it's tied in with sleep as well. And that sounds like why this was so effective for this young woman. But what a powerful testimony. This is the sleep package. And many of you are familiar because we usually talk about the Bella Health package. And you'll notice that 2 of the items in there are also in the Bella Health, which is the Verdezymes and the Vital. So if you already have the Bella Health, then adding in one or all 3 of those other missing elements might be beneficial. It could be as simple as just adding in the Renew or the Good Fat. Look at the different symptoms that I shared with you tonight and help identify what might be that missing link that can make that difference. Because again, think back over time. When you get good rest, you know you feel better. You jump up ready and empowered to take after and challenge that day. That's what we want to have be the norm. Wouldn't it be wonderful if not feeling rested was unusual instead of the daily status quo? So here's our ending quote. Sleep is the golden chain that binds health and our bodies together. And we've all seen and messed with sleeping puppies. You know, they're just so limp, they're just out of it. Imagine being able to have, again, that great restorative sleep. And you can understand why it makes such a big impact on your health. I hope that you will join us next week. We're going to do what I'm calling Soul Story Time. We've got some people that are lined up that are going to share their stories. So if you would like to be one of those people, please make certain that you reach out to me because we would love to have your story added as well. Hope that we will see you next Monday night at 6:30.